Hey guys, today I'm out in Detroit because I've been finally able to get hands-on with the new Kia K4. If you guys recall, at the last auto show where Kia released this, it was Travis that was able to get hands-on. So this is my first opportunity to see one of the newest compact sedans that's going to be sold in the United States. And actually, one of the few compact sedans that appears to be continuing on, because this segment is shrinking and shrinking every year. And in 2025, it's likely that we're going to be losing at least 2 sedans in the United States. But not in the Kia lineup. This is replacing the Kia Forte. Now, the downside to that is that pricing is likely going to go up, although we don't know exactly by how much. Let's take a look around here. Up front, we have the latest interpretation of Kia's Tiger Nose grille here. You can see that it still has the Tiger Nose format, but their definition of Tiger Nose has really expanded over the years to be more angular in some vehicles and a little bit longer and wider as well. I will warn you that these headlights are not the production headlights for this specific model, but these are the ones that you're going to find on most K4s out there on the dealer lot. We have the LED DRL here and then multi-module reflector headlights. If you get the top end trim with the turbocharged engine, these change to more of an ice cube projector style light, and then we get an integrated fog light also in the front. If we move around to the side, you'll notice that the K4 style is definitely a big departure from what we saw in the Forte, more in line with the Kia K5, quite logically. Now, why K4 instead of Forte? The answer is that in the domestic market in Korea, it's always been called the K4, more I should actually say for quite some time. Kia has been using more of an alphanumeric naming scheme, so K4, K5, K7, etc. Moving around the side, you'll notice that we have some distinctive design cues that certainly separate this from the rest of the competition. Door handles that are a little bit more flush mounted, a little bit more aerodynamic back there in the rear doors. The angular design theme continues as it goes to the rear. And then down here, because this is the top end trim, we get blacked out accents, black wheels, etc. They really wanted to give this more of an angry vibe, I guess you'd say, than the Forte that it replaces. Back here in the rear, we find, again, a distinctive lighting element right there in these full LED taillight modules. I'm not quite clear what the base module is going to look like as far as the base taillight design, but it is going to be a little bit different than the one that you're seeing here. Again, Kia logo in the back, lots of blacked out accents around the rear. This is the GT line trim, which means that we have the optional turbocharged engine under the hood. A lot of folks were wondering if the K4 would turn into more of a sportback or a liftback. The answer is no, it is still a sedan, although the design definitely gives it some sportback or liftback vibes. Since this is a GT line, we have a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine under here making 190 horsepower. One big difference between this and some other Kia products with former generations of the 1.6-liter turbo is we have a regular 8-speed automatic, not a dual clutch transmission. So if you're looking for more of a traditional feel, you don't really want a CVT, but you want some extra power, you might want to take a look at this over most of the competition because pretty much everything else is going to just use a CVT, outside of something like the Volkswagen Jetta, of course. Of course, if you want to save money and you want to save gas, then you want the base engine. That's a 2-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine making 147 horsepower. But I think you're really going to want the 1.6-liter turbo. Kia says that the K4 should be one of the roomiest entries in this segment, so let's see how that holds out. I'm in the front seat right now. I have maybe about an inch of headroom left with this front seat comfortably adjusted for me at 6 feet tall. I'm going to go ahead and hop in the back. Let's see how that goes. Again, we get those interesting door handles that open to the side. And one thing worth noting, we also get a design to the sheet metal here that kind of curves in a little bit, sort of like the Kia Stinger. It actually gives me a little bit of a reminder of that model. See back here in this area, lots of legroom going on. Kia says this should have class-leading rear legroom. It's obvious if I move over here to this side, lots of legroom going on back here and a surprising amount of headroom. I actually had expected with the roofline sloping the way that it does that headroom might be a bit more limited. Admittedly, if I put my head back there, it is touching the ceiling, and my hair is of course brushing the ceiling, but it's pretty similar to every other competitor in this segment. What's not similar is that we actually get air vents back here in the center console. Of course, we also have a fold-down center armrest with cup holders right there, and the rear seats do fold in a 60-40 fashion, but the latches for them, they're back there in the cargo area. We'll take a look at that now. Here are the seat back releases in the cargo area. There's of course one for each side. The hinges, they do cut down on the cargo area, so keep that in mind. They have said that this is going to be one of the largest cargo areas in the segment, but I don't have exact dimensions yet. We do have a temporary spare tire under there, and you can see that the cargo area looks pretty square and pretty roomy. They definitely made the cargo area opening a bit larger than we found in the Forte. Let's take a look around the interior now. This is the top-end GT line trim, so clearly this is not the base model. And that's why we find things like the controls for the power moonroof here, touch controls for the LED interior lights. That's kind of a nice touch. We have sun visors. Let's see if they slide to the side. Indeed they do, and there is a vanity light right there. This is what that large moonroof looks like. It's not a panoramic design, but it is a little bit larger than normal. In here you can see that Kia has definitely borrowed some styling cues out of their electric vehicle lineup, especially with this headrest design. This is something that we also see in the EV6. Kind of this eccentric, I don't know, bell-shaped headrest design there. You can use the seat back here for hanging things like jackets or shirts or whatever. Definitely is an intriguing design. I'm not sure how practical it is, but it is pretty good looking. Over here we have height adjustable shoulder belts for the driver and front passenger, and since we're in the GT line trim, we have that GT line logo embossed on the upholstery. Speaking of upholstery, these are new seat designs for the K4. You can see that the center seat back and seat bottom cushion are perforated because this still offers seat ventilation. That's one of the features that Kia really brought to this segment. We still don't find that many of the competitors offering ventilated seats, but you'll still find it here. Those are the controls for the heated and ventilated seats over there on the doors. Obviously, completely new seat and door design. The bottom of the door, that's all made from hard plastic to improve durability and give us that bottle holder down there. Moving over to the dashboard, we find a dash design that reminds me a little bit perhaps of the Kia EV9. Definitely a strong departure from the Forte that this replaces. Let's take a closer look at this dashboard section. Kind of a rubbery upper section of the dashboard there. Metal effect trim, it's not real metal, but it kind of looks like it there in the middle. Soft gray accents, that's definitely my preference over the shiny black plastic that we find in some vehicles. That's part of what gives me the EV9 vibe in here. We then have a decently sized bin-style glove compartment. I suspect you might be able to fit a small, maybe 7-inch tablet computer inside. Here in the middle of everything, we have the latest touchscreen infotainment system from Kia. This is running the latest hardware and the latest software from the lineup, so it's going to feature things like wireless CarPlay integration, downloadable apps. It may even be able to play games at some point in the future. If you want to know more about that, check out our EV9 video. The software is essentially the same. Like the EV9, this top-end trim also has touch controls over here for the climate control. That's not exactly my preference because depending on exactly where your front seat is positioned as a driver, the steering wheel may actually end up blocking those controls. So I don't find that terribly handy, but there are of course repeated physical controls down here. So temperature, fan speed, mode, all that's going on down there, along with some direct access buttons for that infotainment system up here and a roller style volume knob. Down lower in the dashboard, you can see the latest input bank from Kia, same design as we find again in the EV9, where you can choose what this port does, whether it's a USB interface port or a USB charge only port. We then have a wireless charging mat down there, reasonable amount of storage. It looks like they lowered this center console down to give us a bit more space to store things. This also has the latest Kia key design. You can see what that key looks like right there. Again, very similar to the EV9. Pretty traditional console shifter right here in the middle with auto brake hold. The same sort of dividable cup holders that we find in other Kia models. You can push those little rings around and then release them if you want to put those drinks right there and use them as cup holders. Moving back from there, we find a padded center armrest with a reasonable amount of storage there. And then on the driver's side, going all the way back here, again, full color LCD instrument cluster in this particular model, and a two-tone steering wheel that's definitely very distinctive. We have sport grips up top, and it's a little bit flatter on top and on the bottom than it is round. It's kind of an intriguing design, again, kind of like the EV9. Over here we have the controls for the radar adaptive cruise control in this model, and then infotainment buttons over there on that side. As before, the LCD instrument cluster has a few different themes available. That's Style A, we then have Style B, and Style C. But you'll notice that even in this software version, we don't have a moving map display in that instrument cluster screen. That is something that I would love to see in a future version. Since the moonroof's open, let's take a look and see what that looks like from the outside. Instead of the moonroof going down under the body, which would take a little bit more headroom out of the equation, they actually make the glass go on the outside, which is definitely kind of a cool touch. We see that in some other vehicles out there, but none quite cantilevered like we find here in the K4 because it's a pretty big sheet of glass. Unfortunately, at this time, we don't have pricing for the new Kia K4, but I suspect it's going to be somewhere between $21,000 and $23,000 starting. If you're really looking for an estimate, I would say around $22,000 sounds like a good starting price for this. That puts it right in line with its key competition, which of course has to be the recently refreshed Honda Civic, the Corolla, etc. For 2025, we don't know exactly how many of the competitors will return to the US market, but we know that the Jetta is coming back, and in some ways this may be a direct competitor to something like that Jetta if you're looking for a traditional 8-speed automatic. Of course, right now in the Jetta, we don't exactly have a corollary to the optional 1.6-liter turbo in here. And again, if you're looking for better fuel economy, you're going to want the naturally aspirated base engine. Versus something like a Honda Civic, I actually think the Kia K4 looks better. And I do like the lighting elements up front, the full LED headlights there. I'm eager to see what the actual modules look like for this GT line trim with the Ice Cube headlight design. But a lot of folks are really going to appreciate the extra features and extra room that we find inside, especially the second row room and the fact that we do get air vents back there, something that so many of the competitors have been deleting on their vehicles. Admittedly, you have to get the top end trim of the K4 to get those air vents in the back, but that's something that we don't find at any price point in the Honda Civic for some reason in the US market. Until we get complete pricing details on the K4, I will leave a lot of my opinions until later, but if you are interested in one of these, they're going to be on sale later in 2024, and that's probably when we're going to see full pricing information. If you're looking for a solidly style-forward, in some ways kind of mini Stinger styled vehicle, especially with this quarter panel back here or the rear panels on the side, then you definitely want to take a look at the Kia K4. Let me know what you think about the design and of course what you suspect the base price will be down there in the comment section below, and I'll see all of you later.